Okay, so this is the demonstration for how to turn some regular kind of shapes into something that looks kind of like a city block or like some buildings that are outside. So this is your exterior space that you're going to be working on. I've left this shape in here to just kind of be a starting point. Basically, the first thing you're going to do is go along the bottom of a shape that you've already established, and this is probably going to be a long cube for you guys, or kind of a tall rectangular shape. What you're going to do is you're going to put an orthogonal along this bottom edge to the vanishing point on either side, just like this. And that's basically going to establish kind of a baseline for your structures. All right. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to go from the edge of this first structure here, and you're going to go out a little bit and give yourself a little bit of a gap, and then you're going to make a line from here. So what we're going to do is we're going to just make a straight up and down line, just like this. And that's establishing the corner of the next structure. Now, the way this is going to work is it's basically what you got to think of is it's this shape, but moved down a little bit. So what we're doing is we're using a line to establish this corner where we had this line before. So this line here is this line here, so it's the same. So just like before, we're going to take two lines to the right vanishing point with two orthogonals. The nice thing about this is we can stop once we get to the edge of this other structure. So that establishes what, like a little alleyway or whatever between the two structures. So I'm going to go from the top to the vanishing point, just like this. We're going to go from the top to this left vanishing point, just like this. And then since we've already got this line here, we don't need to draw it again. So we're going to take this and we're going to end this structure. So just like this, starting at this line here, moving on over just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Now because this is over here, it's going to actually vanish behind the first structure that we made. So we don't need to draw it all the way down. Just make sure to keep the line parallel. Don't make it crooked. So we've got that established there. Now we're missing the top of the building here, so we're going to put that in. Now it's going to be very skinny since it's very close to the horizon line, so we're going to get a little bit of this is horizontal distortion. We got that there. And this here. Establish the top of that. Yeah, so we've got a very little skinny building there. Now, let's say I wanted to make another tall building, say maybe behind this one. I'm still going to start out with a single line, but instead of placing it next to it because I want it to be behind it, I'm going to start with a line that is behind this building here that we just established. So let's make a single line up there. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and erase some of my horizon line because I'm not actually going to see it. This. So now that I've got that established, I'm going to take a line to the vanishing point on the right from this top of the line that I just made, just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, just like this. All right. So then, let's say I wanted to end this structure. I want it to be behind this building here, so I'm just going to take it like that, and I'm going to do another line over here on the right, just like that. So now I've got a little building kind of behind that one. Now I'm going to do another building right here, and I'm just going to do it the same way. And move out from here a little bit, make a straight line. This is the corner of my next structure. As you can see, I'm just kind of letting this kind of form naturally. Like this. Makes that little alleyway there. So think of this as an alleyway that you could like walk down. So on and so forth. So I've established another structure here. So everything you draw in two-point perspective, you need to think about like this. Just going to make a little sketch up here. A single line. If these are my vanishing points. Vanishing point, vanishing point, vanishing point, vanishing point. And then end the structure, end structure. Just like that. Everything starts out that way. So everything starts with a corner line just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and erase away this business here. So now I've got a kind of a cluster of little buildings here. This one here would probably overlap this one a little bit. That looks a little odd. So now we've got this one firmly established as a background building. Now if I wanted to make more buildings on this side, I would go the same way. I would just come out from here, make a single straight line, just like that, and take this to the vanishing point. And the closer you get to the vanishing point, the more this is going to look more like 1 point perspective than 2 point, but that's okay. Establish this here, another straight line down. From the bottom corner, can establish that little alleyway again. And then top left corner goes to this vanishing point here. And I need to end this shape here, which I forgot to do. So I'm taking steps a little bit out of order. That's okay. As Bob Ross would say, this is your world. Alright, so now I've established a little structure there. So as you can see, these buildings are kind of going back in space like that. Now, say I wanted to establish a sidewalk. It's a little tricky. Generally, the sidewalk runs alongside the buildings because people walk down here, down the side. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this line and I'm going to make it a little bit more of a reinforced line like this. And then I'm going to just rotate this, keeping it lined up with my vanishing point. Just bring it down like that. Then I'm going to do a similar thing over here. Strengthen this line first. I'm just establishing the edges of my sidewalk. Then I'm going to take and rotate it, keeping it lined up with my vanishing point, just down here like this. So now I've got basically a flat plane kind of established as the start of my sidewalk. So before I go any further, I want to establish the front edge of the sidewalk, or the curb, just like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just making another thin bar that goes to the vanishing point, like this. Now, sidewalks usually have lines in them. The tricky thing about the lines in the sidewalk is they go to the opposite vanishing point. Some people draw them just whatever slanted, but don't do that. Draw them to the opposite vanishing point because that's going to be the correct way to do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a line out to here, just like that, to establish that corner piece. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly, lining up my bottom edge of the ruler so I can see my sidewalk lines, I'm going to slowly populate out individual sidewalk squares. Now, the tricky thing about this is you have to make them a little bit closer together as they start getting further away, because just like when things are further from a camera that appear smaller, these are further from our viewpoint, so they appear smaller. So they're just going to get gradually narrower as they go. So you'd work your way all the way down, making them more and more narrow. As they're disappearing from view. As you can see, I've got a bunch of little tiny lines back here. That's enough over there. And so I'm going to do a similar thing right here. Once again, use the bottom of my ruler so I can see the last line that I just made. Every line needs to be lined up with that vanishing point on the right there. These are my narrow ones as we go away, getting further and further back in space. Alright, we got a little bit more building here. Alrighty, so that's enough sidewalk for now, I think. So one important element that I've left out is the fronts of the sidewalk. The fronts of the sidewalk go straight up and down. And you can use your ruler, or you can just freehand these like I'm doing here. Just make sure to keep them all parallel. And as we get further back in space, of course, they're going to get closer together because they're just following the lines that we've already made. If I wanted to make a sidewalk that kind of wrapped around to create a street, let's say I wanted to make a little street down here, I would first come and establish the way the street came out. Alright, so this would be, that would be the street coming out there. Now I need to extend the sidewalk a little bit because we have to basically wrap it around this building. So I extended this out a little bit, and then I'm going to go to the opposite vanishing point here and just wrap it around and have it disappear behind. So that would be the front. And then we've got this little square of sidewalk here. And that establishes that corner piece there. So now it's wrapping around. And so this street coming out here, be a similar thing here. So this would be the edge of the sidewalk. So we go to this vanishing point here. And see, we've established a curb on the opposite side. So this would be the rest of my sidewalk. And these pieces would come this way, going to this vanishing point over here. Front of the sidewalk is going to continue and get very, very small because we're going very, very far back in space. So you could basically start establishing buildings over here if you wanted to now. So a road works very similar. Basically going to take this, just rotate it down, and you could establish a road here. So now we've got a road going this way. The line down the center of the road would come this way and then go to the vanishing point. If you notice, there's kind of a trend here. If I've got a slanted line, it's going to one vanishing point or it's going to the other one. If you wanted to make breaks in the road, like if you wanted to make a dotted line, you would make those just like the sidewalk pieces to the opposite vanishing point. So just like this. So you have a break there, and we'd have a dotted, the yellow dotted line here. Then we'd have another break, just like that. Then we'd have another longer dotted yellow line, so just like that. And then you just erase away where you put the breaks in. But if you're doing this right, there will be no lines that go across. Everything's going to go one way or the other. So one more thing before I adjourn. Let's talk about windows on the sides of our buildings. So the easiest way I find to establish a row of windows is to have a little bit of a light line across the bottom of them. Now if I'm putting windows on this side, that line is going to go to this vanishing point. So if something's on this side of the buildings, like the left side, it's going to go to this left vanishing point. Something's on the right side of these buildings, it's going to go to this vanishing point over here. So I'm just going to establish a little bit of a row here, putting a little bit of a line, and then put a line on top. This is the top of my windows, and I'm going to that vanishing point there. Okay, so this would be like a long, thin window. You want to do that. You could also have several windows by just doing the same thing you do with the dotted lines, but using vertical lines to put breaks between the windows, just like this. See, we have a row of 4 windows there. Now, if I wanted to, I could come and erase away this little, guideline that I made initially. So just like that, now I've got a row of windows. You would continue that process all the way down. If you wanted to make a bunch of windows all over it. A door would work a similar way, only you'd start with a straight line like this. That would establish the side of the door. And you make a line to the vanishing point, just like this. And then you'd make another vertical line, just like this. And so that establishes a door. If you wanted to have a split in the door, that'd just be another vertical line, just like so. So that's some really basic stuff about exterior space drawing in 2-point perspective. Hope this demo was informative. Good luck, and may the force be with you.